Welcome to the Black African Women Network. I'm Sonia Dubé, and this platform is a safe space for the modern millennial Black African woman to be seen, be heard, and be inspired. We're so excited to have Amanda and Rumbi of the It's Layered podcast with us for the Layered Expectations special. Over to you, ladies. Enjoy.
Hi, guys. The beauty of you. How are you, Rumbi?
I'm good. How's it going?
I'm good. This is such a heavy topic, but I feel like similar to how we've done this special with Bo. Thank you again for having us.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to highlight body image. I feel like if I had a big sister or someone going through life who could talk me through all these changes, when you're going through puberty and when you start having, relationships, all these stages where body image always is a thing you have to consider. I just found a lot of times I would just have lots of doubt, never have someone to talk to because all of you are in the same stage. You're all comparing yourselves. You're all, there's no one with a bird's eye view. So this episode's really, really interesting to me, really getting into the beauty of you. Because how do you feel your body image has changed over the years? So high school, uni, career, now?
I think, wow, I mean, beauty of you, it's a beautiful topic, pun intended, but it's so true and so relevant, as you've said. And I think my body image over the years has changed and stayed the same in some regards. I think when I was in, junior and high school, I felt very sort of frumpy and clumsy and I was referred to as Zidula Fetle Fetle growing up. Yes, girl. And that basically means chubster. There's no other way to really, there's no real nice way to put it. It's you're chubby, you're a big girl. So I think that from an early age, that really kind of got stuck in my head, and being told you're too big, you're bigger than your older sister, you're finishing her food. So it made me feel like I'm greedy, I'm fat, so that was a very difficult time. As a result, even the way I dressed, I would just cover myself. I wouldn't really care about accentuating the good parts. It was just to try and hide myself, if that makes sense. And then as I grew up in high school, I think towards the end of high school, going into university, I started figuring out my figure, what works for my figure, and also being really active in high school. I used to run the cross-country course. I used, really trying to be active to kind of shed that excess weight I felt. Same thing through my career to now. I've always been a pretty active person to some degree. Exercise has been part of my life for the longest. I may not be consistent every day, every week I go, but it has been because I was always have always been conscious of my figure. So a difficult relationship with my body over the years, still learning to embrace that and then I've seen myself too when I really shed a lot of weight, and I was like, "Ooh, you look a bit gaunt." Does that make sense? So it's also realizing this ideal of you've got to be thin maybe is not for everybody, if that makes sense. How have you embraced your journey, and what has that looked like for you?
For me, I was very tall, from a kid, and then skinny, and in another world, that might not have been an issue, especially a Western world. But in an African world, that was an issue because then I was too skinny. I remember I would sit on someone's lap, my aunt or something, and they'd be like, "Hey, your bones are digging into me." And it's
nah,
wow, okay. So then consciously, now I still to this day don't sit on people's lap. I just don't. Regardless of now having a bit more cushion, I'm just no. So it's one of those things where it's funny because as much as you can be fat shamed, you can be thin shamed as well. And I had that. So what I had, flat board, I didn't have boobs. I didn't really have much of an ass either. So it's like, it's also becomes a thing where you're too tall for the guys, and then you don't have things that people desire on your body.
Yes.
So puberty was such a weird stage for me because I would eat as much as I want to eat, but it's not like the weight would go where I wanted to go. So
Yes.
like, it wasn't like people were like, oh, you don't eat. Oh, you must not eat. And I'm like, I love food. I'm such a foodie. I still am. But like, it just wasn't, my body just wasn't built like that, whether it was metabolism or what. And then somehow when I came here for career, like uni and stuff to Australia, they always talk about like the Heathrow injection, you know, when people leave and they go overseas and then bam, they gain weight. People who had been typically skinny. And for me, it didn't happen like that at all. But then at the same time, slowly and surely, like the way I am now is a bit more, I have a bit more weight on me than I have ever had. So it's also that journey of, this is beautiful too, like almost like this is what you wanted and then now you got it. But then you can't have the big ass with no cellulite on the thighs, with no, you know, fupa and all those things. It's like you can never win. And then you're also competing with an ever-growing space with social media and how women are meant to look. So my body image has just never been in sync with how I wanted to be.
Yeah.
When I was skinny and I lived in the African world, that was a no-no. Now I'm not so skinny. I live in the Western world. It's like a no-no. So it's like,
it's
you
exhausting. There's no winning. It's really exhausting.
Never winning.
And what I'm hearing from you is that it starts at an early age, and it's all these little tidbits that come not necessarily from people who should have anything to say about you.
Yeah.
Your body anyway. But like, then it's just those things that stick with you and then they shape you into who you are.
Yeah.
That's such a really mind F. Like, it's just like, whoa, that's a lot. Yeah, for sure. So many thoughts about that. I mean, I used to even name my like belly. I had Rolls and Royce. You know, Roy and Royce, like the singers in Zim. So then I named my two-pack Rolls and Royce. Like, you know, I tried to be playful with it as well. You try so many things to cope with that, but it's a lot.
You do.
For you though, when it comes to guys, like, how did this play a role with your body image? So like we've spoken about from almost like a societal upbringing, childhood, and like a community space, but when it came to relationships or like the opposite sex or dating, how did that influence
a huge role. And remember, like, you have to think in high school, also you're wearing glasses, right? So you're thinking, okay, maybe you're not really going to look at my face, but if I have a banging body, you're going to look at it. But no, not when you don't have boobs and not when you don't have a nice fat ass. Like, it just was like, and then let's not even go into colorism. Also, when you're not the right skin tone, yellow bone or whatever. So like, it was just always it still is such a big thing with me, like how a guy sees you. And now that I'm married, it's also like, how does your partner see you now? Like, is this what sexy is? Always comparing yourself to other people and always. So body image, I've learned over the years to just accept myself for who I am.
Yes.
If I'm healthy and I'm happy, that's what counts.
Yes.
But even having said that, with all the fashion trends and everything, and I work in fashion, it's like, you think, okay, right now the body shape that's in fashion is the BBL, the Kim Kardashian body, you know, and it's like, no, I don't look like that, you know. Or even if you wear a crop top, you have to show the abs, do the line between your abs and things like that. And it's like, it's a minefield. It still is. So
I'm so tired. Like,
I don't know.
Like, it's like a go.
You're traumatized.
Like, how are we supposed to live? Like, you're so right. Like, it's, for me, I think a big part of my body image that influenced me when it came to relationships was the issue of colorism. You know, I've always been darker skinned, even around other family, so it was kind of like, like, guys didn't check for you like that, you know, especially coming from the environment we came from. I've always said there's a hierarchy of like beauty in Black community. The closer to fairer, the prettier you are. Then obviously, as we started seeing the likes of Lupita Nyong'o, you know, firstly, Alekwek was there, but like dudes were not checking for a girl with Alekwek skin tone at the same time. And then you're still like, it still doesn't fall. It's not me. So there's a lot. And also, they're supermodels. They're Hollywood actresses. It's different, right? So definitely played a part. You know, insecurities. You know, we even have a story like when we were on holiday once together and there was a guy and I was like, oh, like he was really, you know, attractive. And I was like, yeah, but he would never look at me. And I remember Amanda pretty much almost slapping me on the head, like, girl, like, come to yourself. And to be fair, he was attracted to me, but it's like that thing where you don't look like what you assume people think or what you think people would want. And I remember it's taken me a long time to believe that I can be attractive, that I am attractive, you know. So hey, mindfielding. Sucks.
It's so interesting that you brought up that memory of that guy, because do you think the way you see yourself now is in touch with how you really actually are? Like, do you think you're too hard on yourself?
Yes, I think I am too hard on myself. I think I do set a lot of expectations on myself. I'm becoming kinder to myself. Like the past few years, the sort of mantra I'm trying to live out is be kinder to yourself. Like I've been really harsh to myself for a long time. So it's going to take a while for me to be more loving and kinder to myself, I think. Yeah. So
for me, I'm like almost the opposite of you. Now I'm probably a bit too confident. I think because like also it's almost like that, you know, when you're the typical 90s movie when the girl who wore glasses, the geek turns into the geek overnight. I think for me, I did a lot of things that probably I did start like what you mentioned before. I started dressing well for my shape. I started knowing more and more about fashion and style. I ditched my glasses. Like all these things where like slowly and surely I started knowing how to do my hair, access to stuff as well. You know, makeup, all these things. So I think when I'm put on and I have everything on, it's like an armor.
You are on. Yeah,
then,
I feel you.
Yeah, then I'm like, I know this works. And I put the armor on. And now with the world we live in, where it's like everyone pretty much has an armor on and never really shows you the true you, it works. But obviously now internally, I'm trying to really do the work. Like even without this stuff, even without the long weaves and the long nails and all the stuff, will I still feel cute? And I think that's where I'm at in my journey, where I'm like, I want to learn how to really love me. Because if I see myself as a version of myself, then you're not really
yourself.
You know, like, even with my journey with natural hair, it's still, because deep down in my mind, I can think, you know, that's all I can think. You know? Your hair doesn't look good enough to rock. So
but it's beautiful. And I love that you are doing that work of really like dissecting the inner workings of you. And I think it's an ongoing, they say it's an ongoing journey, and like you'll always be kind of learning that about yourself. But I think it's so important. I think, we are almost at opposite ends of the journey. I think mine is more stepping into like, you are beautiful. You are, and being okay with showing that and okay accentuating that and okay looking at, I don't know why somewhere in my head it was like, I have to be apologetic of how I look, how I feel, you know, like, you know, yes. And firstly, this is what I always say about beauty to begin with. You can't get a prize for beauty because you did not make yourself like beautiful. Of course, you can accentuate. Of course, there's ways, of course. But at the core of it, it's genetics. Thank you, mom, dad, for giving me like the looks I have. But it's okay to feel good about yourself, no matter what the standard of beauty is out there. It's okay, you know? So I am learning to be like, you're a beautiful person. Like, it's okay to let your outer beauty shine as well. Like, it doesn't have to always be like my internal, you know what I mean? So it's so crazy, right? Like, man.
Yeah, we're all dealing with it. Like, how do you feel though about the standards of beauty at the moment? Like, colorism, I think, is still there.
Yeah,
I don't know if the Black
sure.
community has made strides there. I don't think so.
And there's also a distinction, as you mentioned, access. So I think growing up, you know, in Zim and being in an African context, like, access is limited. So, you know, your money speaks about what kind of makeup you have, what kind of hair. Like, I've been very honest about not necessarily being someone who rocks certain hair, because I'm like, hey, I cannot afford to fund this lifestyle. Like, it's too much. And then also I'm too particular. So I would want it to look exceptionally good.
You'd want the best.
I want the best of it. So it ain't gonna work. And then there's the distinction, like, you know, African Americans and then Africans, like Black Africans, like there's a distinction there. Access to products, access to fashion and style. And then, so of course, colorism is a problem. But I think in terms of standards of beauty, I think someone who really shifted it for me was Solange, when she came with, you know, her natural hair and the African print, just from a natural hair and kind of like being African. She shifted that, and you see a lot more. So I do believe there is more representation, but I think we've got a long way to go. Still,
I do think if you're a teenager right now, it's much better than when we were teenagers. Like, even just the rise of Afro beats, that just then means you're seeing more like Tiwa Savages of the world. You know, and she's not that girl you wouldn't wanna, you know, date, or you know, like sometimes you'd see like you mentioned Alec Weck before, but it's like, oh, supermodel, but dudes weren't attracted. But then you get like girls like Tiwa, Yemi Alade coming with the proper curves, then you're like, but then also in that it's sometimes like, I don't have all the curves. So it's like sometimes you wonder,
like that the flat abs, the nice booty, the what?
Yeah.
You know, the makeup.
There's a lot of pressure.
You know,
by
the way, so if you are within Africa, you're so blessed with access to hair.
Yes. Like, maybe not weaves though.
Yeah, no, not weaves, but like the braid. But the braid game has stepped up. Like, you know, like box braids and like
beads in your hair.
There's knotless braids, beads in the hair. Like, all I'm saying, at least there's that. But I think we've got a long way. I think we are seeing more shows, and I think that's why the Bohr Network exists too. Is like, we see more shows, but it's definitely geared more to like the Black American experience. And now we're seeing more of South Africa pushing through, Nigeria pushing through, but universally we haven't pushed through all the way yet, if that makes sense.
To cover all the nuances of being Black, because I'm not going to be like an American girl. And then now we're also occupying a weird space because we're Zimbabwean, but then we're in diaspora. So we're not typically dressing like Zimbabweans either, but we're not typically dressing like Australians or wherever you are. So you're kind of stuck in this weird limbo as well.
100%.
It's a minefield. We keep saying this. Beauty is you. It's a minefield.
It's a minefield, honestly. How do you feel though about the way you look? By the way, you look bomb. I told you when we hopped on this call that I love that look. I don't know why it's giving me like London vibes. Like, you know, I don't know
why, because I'm just cold and I'm wearing a beanie.
But I think it's really hot. I've seen Londoners dressed like that, at least what I think, or UK. Sorry, please don't come for me if you're from the UK.
I know they're gonna come for you like, what? We don't.
That's not how we dress. Like, forgive me, but like it's kind of like that street. They really do streetwear very
street in London. They do.
They know how to, like, they kill it. Like, kind of.
I think
like,
more than Americans. Way
1,000%. Like, so kudos to you. But so how do you feel about the way you look?
Girl, there's a lot of things I feel about the way. Sometimes I wake up and my nose, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to like pinch it. Sometimes like there's a lot. I wish I had bigger boobs. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe if I ever have kids, I will, after everything's done, I'll go and get a boob job. Like, so clearly I got hang-ups. Like, There's stuff I just, but what I do feel about my body right now is I love how strong I am. Like I'm really being back into fitness and going to the gym and being healthy, like just as a baseline.
Yes.
And then, yeah, like as I said before, just finding ways to dress and to dress for me.
Yes.
But I also feel like I occupy a place that gives you self-confidence, but in a false way. Because like I'm usually the only Black person in the room in Australia.
Yes.
So everybody's like, oh, whatever I do with my hair. Oh, Amanda, amazing. Oh, it looks so good. You know? Typical white allyship, you know, like everything I do, if I wear something with a print, oh my God, that's a good color on you.
Yes.
So sometimes it like pumps you up, which is good. But then when I'm in a room full of Black people, I don't know like where I fit in. Because then, especially if I'm in Africa or if I'm in Zim, then you fall under that quirky, oh, she's diaspora, she's trying to show us, you know. But then it's like, no, but this is where I now dress Australian, I guess.
Yes.
So it's weird because I feel confident about the way I look, but in certain spaces.
Yes, I'm with you.
So not in every single space. Some space I'm like, yeah, I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
I think how about you?
Because a huge chunk of your adult life has been in Australia, so there's this definite distinction, whereas I've had more of like living in SA Zim like as an adult. So I'm more aware, but how I feel about how I look currently, I feel like I need to get my summer body, and we're in summer, so I don't think this can work. So I always have this, you know, I need to eat more healthy. I think it was the end of like school year in terms of work. So obviously I wasn't being as focused, but I'm still pleased with myself. I still worked out, still, you know, kind of kept fit. I'm happy with my body. I feel like I've grown a bum now. I used to have like love him. She'd be like, you have a surfboard ass, like
squat game.
Squat game. So it's come in, and like my waist, it's Rolls and Royce are no longer Rolls and Royce, but Rolls is just not leaving me. That's always been like my thing. Like struggle areas is my fupa. It's not really a fupa. It's really just Rolls. But yeah, definitely still learning to look at myself in the mirror and being like, oh, I like you, you look good today, or like, you know, having to have those conversations with myself. In terms of how I dress, I think I've, for the most part, just always done my own thing. Even when I lived in SA, people were like, oh, you're different. I was like, yeah, always been. Like, you know what I mean? So that's no longer a thing. A thing for me. I just was like, why would I want to look like everybody else? Like, you know, and my sister says this about me. She's like, you're a Leo in that you like attention, but maybe not in the obvious way where you're like, listen to me, I'm the Leo in the room. It's more like how you dress, how you make statement by how you present yourself. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I think, as you say, it's an ongoing having to remind myself, and you definitely have weak moments. You're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm never going to be this. I'm too chubby, or this is not right, or, you know, I had a time when I was like, I'm going to cut off my locks. Like, you know, like you just have different moments. And then you have good days. Like, we're like, oh my gosh, my locks have grown so much. Oh my gosh, like they look so healthy. Because also doing hair is a big thing. And when you make a big change with hair, like locks are quote unquote permanent, it's like, did I make the right decision? Like there's all that.
Stuck. Yeah.
So shame. Ongoing. So it's an
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What thoughts or beliefs do you feel about your body compared to the way your partner or partners see you?
I think the skinny, I think I still have this thing of like, I need to be thin thing to be like, okay, fully attractive. And where my partner says, I love your body, like it's great. And then he'll be like, yeah, it's going to be great for having babies, like carrying, because I have hips, like I like your hips,
Childbearing hips.
childbearing hips. I'm like, bruh, I can't just be ready to carry children. That just can't, you know what I mean? But I get
That's our purpose in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what he's saying, Also being with someone who's not African, it's a bit intimidating because you're like, it's a different beauty to what is typical, right? So then you're like, is it just, is he going to get tired of it? Like, will he be like, ugh, like, I want the skinny, like, body again. But obviously, my partner reassures me, like, you're beautiful, you're so attractive, like, all the time. So at some point, you have to start believing it, because unless he's just trying to be broken record, but I do believe he is sincere. I would like to believe he is sincere. So that definitely helps, like, actually trying to lean in and believe that, and be like, someone wouldn't be with you or say you are attractive if they didn't find you attractive. Like, we're also past that age of like lying, faking that. So I think, And how do you think being married, like this is now even within a marriage context, like how have your beliefs compared?
For me, it's been quite layered. Because when I was much skinnier, like when I first moved to Australia, and obviously, as I said, I always want to do the opposite of you. I want to be curvy.
Yes.
So I wanted the curves, because when you're so skinny, it's like you want the dude to have something to hold on to, something to be attracted to.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a thing. But then when I came over to a Western society, skinny was in. So everyone was like, oh, you got a hot body or whatever. And I'm like, what? Really? Because where I've come from, this has not been getting me any guys.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a weird space to occupy, because then all of a sudden I had to catch up to how other people saw me. And obviously that includes partners. And then now that I've gained a bit more weight, it's like almost like the opposite. Like you're like, oh, I want to go back to that, but I was young then. Obviously, I probably will never go back to the size I was when I first landed in Australia. I think I was like, if not 15, maybe even 20 kilos lighter than I am now. So obviously then that comes with cellulite and a bit more, like my thighs rub, like all these new sensations for me in the midst of, also meeting my husband, and also trying to be sexy, and also then trying to maintain. So it's like, sometimes it's a minefield, because it feels like the society I live in doesn't accept me being a bit bigger. They want you to be skinny. They want the Western look, But then thankfully, because of the rise of Kim Kardashian and that whole look as well, it's like kind of balancing. Yeah. And then like, oh, okay, maybe you can have some curves, but then the curves aren't realistic. Like you can't have a big ass and skinny thighs, So it's like, I'm always battling that, where it's like, yeah, but you see that on the social media or whatever, but that's not reality. Not real. That's not reality life.
I saw a meme about that. It was like me at the gym trying to get my dream body when everyone else in LA is going for like surgery and liposuction.
Yeah, like the Brazilian butt lifts. Yeah.
Like, come on,
insane. So like in a marriage, obviously you're also conscious that you will probably be, unless you're in an open marriage, you're gonna be the only person your person is getting, right? So that's also puts a bit of a certain pressure, because then it's like, I always got to be the sexy, or do I got to be like, so it's, I'm still navigating it. You just go with the flow. Sometimes you do set aside, like, I'm trying to be sexy here, I'm gonna buy lingerie and look good for you. Then sometimes you look at yourself in the mirror and you're counting your stretch marks and you're like, does this look good? Like, so it's like a mixture of all of that. But what I do appreciate is I've been lucky that I've been with good men when it comes to body image. Like no one who's, being verbally abusive,
Yes.
or being in my head about how I'm not. All of the guys I've dated or been
Yes.
intimate with
Mm.
have always appreciated me. So I think that's also helped me
Yes.
appreciate me.
Yes.
But I've also seen situations where guys can also put a certain pressure on girls. Like, oh,
Yes.
you know, there's one guy who said to a friend of mine, you're not allowed to change your dress size once we start dating. You know, that was one of his deal breakers, because he didn't want, like, he's like, I typically see girls gaining weight when they're happy, you know, in a
That's a lot.
relationship. So it's like, it's a lot, because I never had that experience. So I'm pretty grateful.
Yeah.
And my husband's supportive. And like now he knows I'm obviously very into like going to the gym and taking care of myself. So yeah, it's like he knows the effort I put into myself. So it helps.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
yeah, with
That's
maintaining.
beautiful, having a partner who like appreciates and, you know, kind of supports your journey as not in your journey, but like I don't know how to explain it, like not
like
really
like
like
a good cheerleader, you know, on the
yes,
sidelines.
yes. That
Yeah, for
definitely helps,
sure. For sure.
which is
Is there
beautiful.
anything special that you do, like some tips and tricks to
For
make yourself feel good or look good?
I think the looking yourself in the mirror, like looking yourself in the mirror, I think that's something I'm still really getting into it. Like when you're getting dressed or like just got out of the shower, it's kind of like, oh, I like that. Like my smile or like what's, you know, appreciating that about myself. Definitely, I think clothes are a great way to feel like, let nobody lie to you that, you know, being aware of how you dress is sort of like fickle thing. I think it's a
Vain.
really, or vain, it's a very powerful tool. Like, why do you think the whole idea of power suit is in play? Because it makes you feel a way. And so don't underestimate. So it's definitely clothes, again, knowing what works for my body and accentuating that. And not being afraid. You know, sometimes it's like you're like, oh, I'll save that outfit for like some other day. Not being afraid to look good whenever. Like, don't ration your look gooding. Looking good, look gooding.
Look gooding.
It's okay. That definitely is that. In terms of beauty, makeup. And the thing is, I'm not someone who does makeup every day. Like, what I will do is my eyebrows and eyeliner, lip gloss. Like that's typical. And then like if you want to push through, come through a little more, then it's like makeup, you know? But I think it's those conversations with yourself. Definitely like fitness has always been a part of me. It's like, and I find now with my body, even like when I don't work out as consistently, my body is there for me. I don't know how to explain it. Like it doesn't completely like go into a big sack. Like do you get what I mean? So like developing those habits has helped me. So my weight doesn't fluctuate like crazy. Like, you know, there's definitely and muscle memory. So I've always been a fan. I love running. Like love might be a strong word. I like running. It's always been a thing I've just drawn to, like that cardio music, like pushing through the pain. And then doing I'm enjoying like Pilates type of, you know, fitness or like strength or whatever. So those are things. And then food, like if you're not going to change like your complete diet, portioning, like how much you eat. I'm a huge snacker, which I need to work on right now. It's like I love to snack. I'm not big on like meals, like having huge meals, but when it comes to snacking, that's my kryptonite. That's my kryptonite. So yeah, just different things like you just gotta work on, and also looking at people who inspire you, that you like their bodies that look different, that surround yourself with things that make you feel good, as opposed to feel less than. What do you do now?
I mean, you've said it all, girl. Like seriously, the gym is obviously a good one.
You're very good at the gym. You are like, if there's someone I know in this world who is consistent about their gym life, it is Amanda Rumbi Fleischer. Like you are 100%. Like, I'm like, I wish I had that commitment. I do not, but kudos to you. Yeah.
Thank you. It's also because I love food a bit too much. Like, you know how you said I'm the big meals and the big snacker and the alcohol. So I gotta choose So definitely all the things you said, definitely learning how to dress. I love the Gen Z energy right now. Mom jeans.
Yes.
90s vibes.
Yes.
None of this. Skinny jeans are out. I'm like, yes, my phase has finally come at the right time. Because like not being restricted in like how you dress. You still look good even though you're wearing like oversized or you're wearing something a bit bigger, which was not typical.
So many cute sweats right now. And
exactly, which was not typical before COVID and not typical certainly 10 or 5 years ago, you know. So I'm really, really appreciative of like knowing how to, my only thing is not being a slave to it. So like putting on makeup, putting on the weaves or having like long box braids done or whatever. But as long as I can also equally feel confident without it all, then I think we're A-okay. Because if I feel like I can't step out of the house without makeup on, or if I have to get my nails done back to back, or I can't have my natural hair, then we have a problem. And right now I'm still, you know, but I think body image, I mean, for those listeners who have kids, please let us know, because that's another big hurdle, you know, that Rumbi and I haven't experienced, going through, you know, motherhood and then the other side of that. So I feel like we need to pick up this episode a few years from now. And like really, or even have a guest on, just to like really dissect, because you know, we only can touch the surface. There's so much when it comes to women, and there's so much pressure as well, societal. Every time I go home, they're like, now you're eating too much. But before, a couple of years ago, I wasn't eating enough. So you can never win. But it's been interesting.
No, it's been interesting. And it's such a layered, no pun intended, but pun intended. It's such a layered field, and I think for women there's just an immense amount of pressure put on us with regards to standards of beauty. And also acknowledge, one thing we need to acknowledge, bruh, what we see, other people have access and are doing things that we could never. We don't have that time. Like I look at some people's beauty routines, I'm like, do you go to work? Like, are you
like it takes you an hour to put your makeup on. When are you sleeping?
Like it's just unsustainable. So being very aware of that.
And it can be very expensive. They had like a TikTok trend where people would typically show you what they spend, like getting your nails done, getting your hair done, getting your eyebrows done, getting your wax, getting your, and then you're like, damn, like it's a lot of money. So
for sure,
you have to be mindful of that.
For sure. But thank you, Amanda. Thank you for being open in this. I hope, you know, our listeners, the audience can relate and feel like there's something to take away here. Let us know how you navigated. We just shared a bit of ours. So thank you, Am.
Thanks, Rumbi. Lovely to see you as always.
As always, we'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Toodaloo.
Bye, guys.